Hello, I'm Dr. Gary Gould, and today I want to talk to you about something that's a very important skill for journalists to know. And it's something that you can use anywhere, whether you're at a Beyonce concert, maybe, or maybe you are in New York in the winter, freezing out in front of Grand Central, or maybe you're in Paris at a protest. Well, what you're going to learn today is helpful everywhere, whether it's there or here on campus. These are tips and techniques. Thanks for coming today and learning about how to shoot with your phone or a camera, how to shoot an interview. So today we're going to, we have a campus background, we've got the green screen going on, but we're actually in the studio here at Ryerson. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to use your smartphone or DSLR or any other camera you have to actually do an interview. Now, before we actually go to the interview part, I want to just quickly remind you a couple things about shooting with a smartphone. Number one, charge the thing up. If your battery is kind of sketch, get yourself one of those power banks. You can buy them at the dollar store for $4, but you should have enough power. Video draws a lot of power, more than taking pictures and more than texting, etc. So be ready for that. Make sure there's enough storage on your phone. If you have a fixed memory like you have on these iPhones or iPods, make sure you clear stuff off. If you have an Android that has an interchangeable SD card, make sure it's a big enough one for video or bring an extra one to switch it out. The other thing too is the lens. You want to make sure that the lens is clean, right? You're in and out of your pocket with it. It can get awfully fingerprinty, awfully dirty. So if you have a lens cleaning cloth, again, most of us have, even when you get a phone, sometimes they come with it. Just use a soft cloth to wipe off the actual lens of the camera. And when we're using the camera, we're going to keep the lens to the left. So this is upside down, even though it's screen flipped, so it looks fine when I'm recording it. Problem later in editing. Screen to the camera to the left, and you're ready to go. Finally, the other thing we recommend when you're using a smartphone, either put it in airplane mode or turn off your notifications so that I'm in the middle of an interview, the phone doesn't ring, and that's a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through fairly quickly how to do an interview, a one-camera interview with a camera, but specifically today the smartphone. Joining me in the studio is the great and fabulous Sally Goldberg Powell. Sally is not on the microphone, so we only have one mic between us. So thank you for coming in.
No problem.
But for today, we're going to pretend I don't know Sally, because when you're doing an interview in the field, you're stopping people. Please, I mean, we all like to interview our friends, but please don't. I think you're going to find you get more honest, a more honest experience. Certainly, learning how to stop people you don't know, asking people questions of who you have no idea who they are. So do try to stop people you don't know. So in this case, I'm going to pretend Sally is just a random person that I've met on the street. So I would stop her. I would say, I'm Gary Gould. I'm doing an interview with the School of Journalism. Maybe you have your press card. Maybe you put it around your neck so you're wearing it so they can see that you're a member of the student press. And I'm just shooting an assignment for class. Can I ask you a few questions about this? That person will say yes or no. Now, when you're using a smartphone, there's only the microphone built into the camera. Good and bad. It's good that you have a microphone. It's bad because when I'm recording, if the person's too far away from the microphone, it's not going to be the best sound. So first thing I want to consider is the background. And sometimes people think, oh, I'll put the nice sky behind the person or a window. If the background is too bright, it will give you a problem with the shot. So try to avoid the sky. The sky is actually quite a bright thing, even on an overcast day. Avoid the sky or windows, that kind of stuff. So I want my background to be more muted. And so if I'm shooting, let's say I'm shooting a story about Balzac's coffee, I might pick the coffee shop as the background. And it's also very important that you change the background with every person. So if I interview Sally with this background, I'm going to interview somebody else with another background and somebody else with another background. Otherwise, you get a series of jump cuts. Jump, 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 jump. Same background, different person, and it looks jarring, which is not what you want to have happen. So with Sally, I'm going to look at two things. One, I want to select a nice background for Sally. I'm going to use angles. We don't like to shoot straight onto people because it's flat and boring. We have seen lots of stuff where people put someone up against the wall and it's terrible. Now you can't really see because this is a fake wall, but let's say that's the back. Oops, sorry. Sorry, Sally. So here we are. It's like a passport photo for two over here. We do not want a flat, boring background. We want something a little bit more animated, which is what you see behind us here on the set. So watch your background. and use a nice angle. So rather than a flat background, shoot it with an angle behind the person. And eye levels, also very important. So I'm taller than Sally. You can see that in the shot. So if I'm recording Sally and she's looking at me, I'm going to either be shooting down at her and she's looking up at me, but it's not going to be the best shot. So what I want to do is I want to shoot eye level to Sally, and I want to bring myself down to eye level as well. And I want to frame it in such a way, using the rule of thirds, which you've talked about or have seen in other videos. I want to offset the subject just a little bit. The person's not dead center. The only person that gets dead center is the reporter for a stand-up, typically. But in this case, I'm going to offset, put the person just slightly off frame, and then I'm going to ask the questions right here. So I'm going to have to crouch down so that I'm eye level to my fabulous interview subject. The other thing I see when I look through this particular shot is the strong light on the side of her face creating shadows on this side over here. Now, if you happen to have a whiteboard with you, or a friend, I can actually bounce the light and fill in the shadows like this, right? This $1 piece of foam core, actually this was free, I found it in the hallway, right? Can make a huge difference to the shot, right? Just fill in the shadow with the reflector, or if it's sunlight, I can also use the shot. Let's see if I can actually see it here. I can use that to fill in the light as well. We have a strong front light because we're in the studio. So what I would, in this case, do, I would just make it easy on myself. I would turn the subject towards the lens, or towards the light. If you can just shift over a little bit this way, right? So the lighting is going to be better on her face. Sally also has a piece of hair on the one side of her face, which will create a shadow. So you might just say to the person, do you mind just pushing, oh, let's see that like that. Do you mind just pushing that hair off your eyes so that you look fabulous? And not a person on the planet is going to complain about that. Great, thanks for making me look good. So Sally is looking fantastic. Then I'm going to ask my questions, and I'm going to ask them down here. Now let's talk about sound. A couple things. The sound in this studio is completely empty because we're in a perfectly silent sound stage, basically. In the real world, it's not like that. You're going to have lots of noise around us. So you want to make sure that, first of all, the person talks loud enough. So you might have to say, if the person's a quiet talker, I'm sorry, could you just talk a little louder? This camera is not great for sound pickup. And I want to be at about this distance. A couple other things too. I'm not going to stand like this to the person because it's uncomfortable and I'm in their personal space. I'm going to stand sideways to them, and I'm going to frame them like this so that Sally's actually at a good distance here. It's a comfortable space for somebody with their personal space. So I don't know her. Sally's a new person I've just met. I'm asking her questions and I'm framing it up like this. And when she talks, I want to have the mic as close to her as possible. That's one of the other reasons we don't like super wide shots. If I'm way back here to get her in front of Balzac's, right, it's going to be further for the sound to travel, and we're going to get more of the background sound. So I want to push it in close. Again, we like the armpit shot, just a nice medium close-up shot. It's brand neutral and it's gender neutral, and it's a nice framing for the person's face and their eyes. So we're going to remember that. Now, let's say the environment is particularly noisy. A couple things. One, let's say I start shooting just asking questions on campus, and suddenly there's construction going on. Well, the easiest thing might be, if you can, just move to a different part of the campus. But if you need the background, maybe I'm shooting at the coffee shop and I'm interviewing people coming out of the coffee shop, then maybe I have no choice, I have to use it. But what I want to do is I want to put the noisy sound behind my back, and I'm going to use my body mass to absorb some of the sound coming in from behind. So noise is here behind. I'm going to frame up like this, and again say, can you talk like louder, because we're trying to get over this construction's killing us. And so she's going to talk louder, and we're going to get a better sound level that way. It's not ideal. You're going to learn at another level about the lav microphone and plugging into cameras in another way. Those are better sound options, but in a pinch, this actually works quite nicely. And again, if you can find a room or a place that's quieter, some background sound is fine, but if Sally is loud enough, there should be no problem. So let's actually try that. Sally, first of all, yep, just push your hair off your face like that. How do you, let's actually go like this. See how she looks? Fantastic. I know this looks silly, but you are going to look great. Can you tell me a little bit about why'd you come to Ryerson?
Well, I came to Ryerson to go to school. I went to school at another university. I didn't feel I got enough hands-on experience. I've been around Ryerson since 1999, so it's been basically 20 years since I've been here at Ryerson.
And do you like the school?
I do. It's a great environment to be in. It's always innovating and changing all the time. This building doesn't even look the same way as it did when I started.
Good. So you can see it's not the easiest thing in the world, and it helps if you have a whiteboard or two, but the design that you set up visually makes a big difference. The background that you choose, just be aware of the sound to make sure that the person is going to be heard through the background sound. A couple other quick things for the interviews. This is a whole topic for another thing. Technically, the interview is one thing, but the way you ask questions, are they open or closed? Don't forget all of that stuff, all the journalism stuff that you're going to learn at a different part of this particular course. Be aware of that. Listen to what the person's saying. Maybe there's something that person says that you want to pick up on. Maybe they're a commuter. Oh, I have a 2-hour commute. Really? Oh. Now, this is the other thing too. When I'm interviewing somebody, I do not want to be talking the whole time. So, do you like Ryerson?
I do. I really like it here. I guess the only drawback is that I have this long commute.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's a really long commute. It's actually 2 hours each way.
Wow, 2 hours, right? If I'm talking, who's closest to the microphone? Well, I am, and who's going to win? I'm going to win. And it's going to be a disaster when you go to edit. You go, oh no, we talked the whole time. So the crew, anybody else that you're with, just wait till the interview's over. And what you can do is nod during the interview. Not necessarily that you're agreeing with it, but just so that they can see you're listening. And then when the person finishes, give them a 1 or 2 second break before you say anything. Great, thank you. Because if you talk right at the end of what they say, you're going to find it's hard to edit. Some of this you're just going to figure out as you go along. You go, oh, now I get it. I spoke at the end of the interview and I talked over top of my subject, so that's a problem. So we want to get good and close as we can. Again, medium close-up is better. We want to watch the angle, get a different background for every particular person, watch for bright things, make sure that there's enough storage on your phone, and loud sound. What else do we have to look at today? Light sources, again, that's a video you can watch elsewhere on In Session, but the reflector makes a big difference if you can find one of these or a piece of Bristol board, or just moving the subject so that the light is on their face is a big game changer as well. So those are some tips that you can use as you go around and get your interviews. Do try to make sure that the questions are not just open-ended or closed-ended, I guess is what we want to avoid. We don't want yes or no answers specific, particularly we want more general questions that we can edit. So at this point, let's stop for a quick quiz and then we'll come back for the conclusion of this tutorial. There you go. The smartphones, if you don't have one, you can use an iPod. It's available in the studio. Thank you to Sally. Look at, she's running off from the interview. Do make sure you thank your subject that you're interviewing. And last thing I just want to talk about, we're going to close it out. If you're in somewhere that's really loud, it can be really dynamic visually because you're at a concert, let's say. But you might have to talk really loud in order to get the sound. Let's say, for example, again, I'm back at that Beyonce concert, and the background is going to be terrific because I've got all kinds of energy behind me. I'm having a great time, but again, frame tight, medium close up, right up here. Oh, this is a great concert. I'm having a great time. It is a wonderful place. She should have put a ring on it. See you again. I'm Dr. Gary Gould. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.